What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 83. My name is Victor Vasquez. Appreciate you joining me on another discussion where we dive into a new movie that we got to check out in theaters. I'll give you my pros and cons, let you know about my favorite shot that could be like a poster for a movie, as well as breaking down whether I think this film is timeless. After one viewing, can I see myself rewatch it as well? Little housekeeping before we jump into the episode. Did want to let you guys know that the podcast is on Spotify. If you have not checked it out, feel free, go ahead and search it up. Timeless Movie Podcast. You'll see that all episodes from beginning to episode 82, which was about Alien Romulus, are now up. If you haven't listened to Alien Romulus and that episode breakdown, give it a listen. It's on Spotify, it's on YouTube. Feel free to check it out. Let me know what your thoughts are on that specific episode. And tell me, do you agree with me? Do you feel like Alien Romulus was a timeless movie? Was it not a timeless movie? Let me know in the comments of that video and audio down below. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and jump in to episode number 83. On this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the new film, The Crow. That is right. This film, The Crow, is actually a complete new kind of reimagination of the 1994 film of The Crow. This one is directed by Rupert Sanders. He has directed films like Snow White and the Huntsman, as well as Ghost in the Shell, and this is his newest entry into this. And this film stars Bill Skarsgård. So, just to kind of give you a little bit of a little preface in regards to my history with The Crow, I have not seen the original 1994 film. I actually did it on purpose. I didn't want to watch it so that maybe it would help my breakdown of this film and see if I can not compare it to the original, since this is maybe a reimagining and a complete reboot of the series. So I did not watch the 1994 film. I just wanted to stick with this one. So I have no prior understanding of what the story is, what it conceptually is about. I just know that it has the same title and name. But again, that just kind of hopefully gives you a little bit of the background before I went to go check out The Crow for 2024. So let's go ahead and dive in. Overall thoughts. I got to check it out on opening night with my brother. And I gotta say, I thought the movie was okay to good at best. What's so weird though, and what I've kind of been thinking about since I left the theater, was I really enjoyed and I liked a lot of parts of the movie conceptually. What I mean by that is there was things about the film that I thought, just conceptually, of what they were trying to portray to the audience, made a lot of sense. The relationship between the two main characters, Eric and Shelley, that relationship, just thinking about it, how they set it up and what they were doing in the first act, made a lot of sense. And again, it just, thinking about that in any other movie, it definitely would make you want to root for these characters. Second thing that I think worked for me very well was visuals throughout the movie. Just the way that the entire setting of this universe was established, as well as any kind of visualization of action scenes and things of that they were showing for, violence and gore. All that just worked. But when I take the sum of everything, the entire story, Eric and Shelley going through these situations, then the action, and then you see the entire story kind of play out, something's missing. Something just doesn't click with me. It didn't work. I just felt like something was off while I was watching the movie, and so that's kind of why I don't understand kind of how to articulate that in a very clear way. Right? I like all these parts separated, split them out, kind of like, hey, this relationship worked. Hey, this action worked. Hey, these visuals and the universe that they're creating, it makes sense conceptually. But watching throughout the movie, it just, something was off. I just did not really pick up on, oh yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking for from this type of a film. It just kind of felt like something was missing for me. Let me give you a little general synopsis of the movie. Again, I'm not going to spoil everything. I don't want to just kind of go into that. I just want to highlight what was the general plot of the movie. This movie revolves around two characters. Shelley, played by F.K. Twigs, and she is basically running around and running away from a specific group that is trying to kill her. She has this kind of incriminating video that could expose the specific company that's named Rogue, or Roeg. I don't know really how you can kind of say it, but she's basically running away, trying not to get caught, and she ends up getting arrested on purpose because she has drugs with her, and she ends up getting taken to like this detention center, this co-ed detention center, like almost like a rehab center, and that's where she ends up meeting Eric. Eric is played by Bill Skarsgård. And from there, you basically get to see their relationship kind of flourish. They get to know each other. And through this kind of traumatic experience that they're both kind of feeling, they, again, just kind of grow in their relationship. And as you kind of go along, then end up seeing something terrible happen to both Eric and Shelley. And for the rest of the film, from that point on, I think that could be the end of the first act, it's a full on revenge story where Eric is trying to do all he can and he's on a mission to basically try to take out all of the people that hurt him and Shelley. And he's just trying to kill all these evil people and just again trying to make all he can do in order to kind of restore what he lost. Again, the story makes total sense. There's not a lot of things that kind of just miss or any kind of plot holes that don't make sense. It flows very well. But just while I was watching it, I don't know, something just didn't click with me. I just didn't really attach myself to any of these characters. I'll kind of dive into a little bit more in detail within the cons, but that's just kind of an overall sense of what the story is. It is a revenge story. Eric is just trying to do all he can to get revenge on the people that hurt him and Shelley. So, again, after I came out of the theater, it is okay to good. It's not a terrible movie, but again, just something was missing that I can't really pinpoint, but maybe throughout discussing in this podcast, maybe we'll be able to figure out together. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's get into more details, a little bit more spoiler warning. So, again, if you haven't seen the film The Crow, feel free to step away, watch the movie, then come back and kind of get a little bit more of the details of what I'll be spoiling. Or, again, if you don't really care about those kind of things, then feel free to keep on listening. All right, first pro that I have is the concept of the crow and the abilities that the crow has. Again, one of the other kind of ideas that I really enjoyed about it is the concept of the crow. The crow was basically some type of a spirit or being that was able to kind of guide Eric to, okay, this is the location you have to go to, this is where you have to be. So there was always like a crow kind of guiding him. So I really like those kind of abilities. And the way that Eric gets these abilities is because of the fact that, once again, spoiler warning for what happens in The Crow, he basically ends up getting killed by Vincent Rogue, who is the villain and the antagonist of this film. Vincent Rogue has these types of henchmen, and he basically gets killed by these henchmen, and he ends up going to purgatory. And in purgatory, he's basically told by this mysterious character that he has an opportunity for a second chance. Because of the pure love that he has for Shelley, he gets a second chance in order to try to get revenge on these people that just took the innocent lives of Shelley and himself. And so after he gets the second chance, he's able to actually bounce between purgatory and real life. And he has these kind of regenerative abilities. So he can get shot, he can get stabbed, he can get punched. Nothing happens to him. He's not able to die. Although he is able to feel the pain of it, but he does not die. And so all that kind of concept of the abilities of the crow, what he's doing it for, all of that just makes sense. Again, conceptually. As I'm watching it, again, it looks visually very cool. I love the idea of a crow just kind of guiding him and always being around him. And what was the main factor of what works so well is the fact that he didn't get these abilities from like a type of a spell, from a stone. No, the reason he's getting these abilities is because he has this pure love for Shelley. That pure love, where there is no doubt, that is what gives him the ability to basically bounce between purgatory and real life. And that's what kind of keeps him from dying when he's in that kind of ability of the crow. And so that I really appreciated. Again, it's not something kind of like very mystical or fantastical like you see in different types of films. No, in this one it's like, hey, because of this pure love that is just honest and genuine, you have this opportunity. And so I really like that. And that pure love actually kind of feeds into my second pro, which is the building up of this relationship between Eric and Shelley. So what I really appreciated is that the first act, it really just dedicates the entire film on making you feel for these two characters, Eric and Shelley. It's just trying to build up their relationship, build up their chemistry together, and to kind of show you that, hey, these two love each other. And I really like that. I like that they spent a lot of time where we just see these two characters talking to each other, getting an understanding of what they like and how they like each other, and all these different elements that they were able to add. But what I love most is that they build this relationship And then something happens at the end of the first act that sets up again this revenge story that it immediately kind of just tries to make the audience hurt. Like, hey, you like these two characters? Well, bam, this is what ends up happening to one of the characters. Again, I don't want to spoil too much of it. I want you, if you really are interested in watching The Crow, definitely take a watch. So I won't spoil that aspect of it. But they build up this relationship and then they're able to just kind of flip it on its head and just try to make the audience feel a certain way after something happens to one of the characters. So again, I liked that aspect of building up and using the first act to kind of show these two characters and try to make the audience attached to them. That was again a really cool thing. And then the last pro I have is the overall setting and the kind of environment that they were able to establish within the movie The Crow. I thought it was really well done. The city just felt very, dirty, grimy. It was always raining. It was just always felt like you were watching these characters in the night, and I really love that. It kind of gave me those kind of vibes of almost like the Dark Knight and like Batman, where or especially Batman Begins when he's in the Narrows, and you have all this like rain. You have these different types of apartments and buildings. Everything looks kind of very grimy and just nasty. That's kind of what the environment was kind of feeling like throughout the movie. But I really like that. Again, it kind of added to the ambiance and it hopefully added to making the audience feel like, damn, this place is just very, very bad, very grimy. And you could just see that these henchmen are just going to get away with a lot of things, right? Just because of how this environment has been set up. So that was another thing that I really enjoyed about the movie. But let's go ahead and get into some of the cons. And really, it's just one con, but I think this one con is really what takes me down from just thinking this movie is okay. And that's the fact that even though I really enjoyed them building up this relationship between Shelley and Eric, even though I thought seeing the abilities of Eric use, the crow abilities to try to get revenge on Vincent Rogan, his henchman, what I just could not do in the film is attach myself to these characters. And I think that's what was missing, right? I could not attach myself to Eric. I couldn't attach myself to Shelley. Something about their dialogue, and I won't say it's their performances again, because I think the Bill Skarsgård and FK Twigs, I thought they did the best that they could, but the dialogue, what they were saying, the writing, I just could not relate. I could not just feel for these characters. So even after certain things happen, I'm just kind of like left very much with a flat type of a feeling. I'm just like, okay, I'll move on. I'll focus on the next thing. Just nothing really connected with me. And I think that was really the biggest thing. Because I couldn't really connect with these characters, it makes it very hard to care about what is happening to them, what they're trying to go through, the pain that they might be facing, as compared to other movies, right? When you're watching Dune or when you're watching Alien Romulus, I immediately connected to these characters. Within the first 5 minutes of Alien Romulus, I connected with this main characters of Andy and Rain. It was just immediate. I knew, okay, these are brother and sister. I really care for them. I don't want anything to happen. Here, though, you have Shelley and Eric, who are, again they have a troubled past. They're not great people, but they're also not evil. And so it immediately kind of, when you set up that first act of just building their connection between the two characters, I'm hoping that I can, let me attach myself to Eric and hopefully kind of feel the pain of what's going to happen throughout his revenge story. But I just never felt it. Just something felt flat, felt off. And again, I don't know if it was the dialogue or the writing or just how they were delivering these lines. Something just didn't work for me. And that just really took me out of the movie. And it's unfortunate because I really enjoyed a lot of different aspects of it. Again, like I mentioned, the overall thoughts, there's so many things that I can pinpoint of like, hey, this visually, the city looked really cool and grimy. Hey, this action was really on point. The visual effects that they were able to use were just awesome. But just seeing the movie play out, I just could not connect with it. So that's the unfortunate part on my side. If I were to give kind of an overall kind of recommendation, I would actually say that you don't have to check this out in theaters. You can definitely wait for it on streaming. Again, if you're a big fan of The Crow, of the original 1994 film, again, feel free to check this one out. And if you're a bigger fan of maybe FK Twigs or Bill Skarsgård, then give it a shot. But again, I would wait for streaming, wait for it as soon as it's available on any streaming service. I would not recommend you guys have to go check it out in theaters. Couple of more points though. Some of my want to end at least on a positive. Some of my favorite things. Let's start with performances. Favorite performance again. No character was in the film that I could actually attach myself to and kind of feel like, hey, like this is incredible. But if I had to give it to one character that kind of again just maybe stood up above the rest, maybe it could have been Danny Huston, who plays Vincent Rogue, who is again the villain of the film. He always kind of plays these types of villainous roles. He has this very kind of antagonist type of a look, but I thought Danny did a really great job with what he was given. He kind of was a character that made a deal with the devil, and he was able to kind of whisper these kind of evil demands. And what he would do is that these whispers would basically go into somebody's mind and kind of corrupt and come up with these dark thoughts that everybody has. It was just again really cool. He always kind of performs in a very scary and eerie way. So really enjoyed his performance. Favorite scene had to have been the action scene at an opera house. This is already in the third act. Eric, who is now has the crow abilities, he now basically is able to kind of go in confidently. He knows that he's not going to be able to die as long as he loves and has this kind of pure love for Shelly. And so he goes in and he's just able to wreck guys like crazy. It is an amazing action sequence. He has this like sweet katana that he's just basically cutting guys up. He pulls off a nasty kill where he ends up putting the blade in between a guy's mouth, and he just basically slams the blade and almost cracks his jaw and basically slices it. So it was intense. So I really like that. That whole sequence at the opera house and that fight scene was probably my favorite. And then if I had like a favorite shot within the movie, it has to actually do with Eric as he's walking to the opera house. It's not raining, but it is dark. Again, the city looks kind of very grimy. Everybody's looking at Eric because he has this kind of black ink over his face. He just looks very weird. But him walking down the street, everybody staring at him as he's walking to the opera with his mission at hand. I thought that was a really cool shot. So that would probably be kind of like my poster of the crow, is him just kind of walking the camera right in front of him, just kind of looking at his full body, walking the street, getting to the opera house, and trying to take out as many people as he can. Those are some of my favorite things about the movie. But guys, we have got into the last segment where we are going to decide whether this film, The Crow, is timeless. I've talked about a couple of things again that I liked, that I didn't like, and so I'm pretty sure you can kind of tell where the direction of my choice is going to be. But I will make it very clear: I think The Crow is not a timeless movie. Again, unfortunately, there's a lot of good things that I really enjoyed about it. Again, the action was really cool. I enjoyed the different types of choreography they were able to pull off. I really liked conceptually the Crow abilities and how he was able to kind of bounce between purgatory and real life. And again, just conceptually building up this relationship and trying to show that Eric really only loves Shelly. And that was really all he can kind of think about. But other than that, just there was a lot missing in this movie like that. I could not connect with these characters. Again, the lines that they were delivering, the writing just all fell flat. It just did not work for me. So again, overall, still an okay movie, but I just know that I'll probably never watch this one again. Guys, those are my thoughts on The Crow. If you've checked it out in theaters or if you've already seen it, let me know down below. What do you think about The Crow? Am I way off? Are you in agreement with me? Anybody that's seen the original Crow in 1994, tell me what you liked about that movie and what was different. Because again, I have not seen it. Maybe I'll check it out. This might make me want to see if the original one is just way better. But let me know down below in the comments what you thought about The Crow for 2024. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 83 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Make sure to check out next week's episode as we cover a new film and we decide whether it is timeless after one viewing. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later.